Good afternoon, University of Houston staff. My name is Whitney Johnson, and I serve as one of the co-chairs for the Staff Council Staff Affairs Committee alongside Seth Evans. I'd also like to acknowledge in attendance our Staff Council President, Denisha Allen, as well as our Staff Council President-elect, David Frankfurt. UH staff, as we finish another academic year and continue to experience change, your Staff Council is excited to present a new professional development series brought to you by the Staff Affairs Committee. This series will focus on sharing critical staff resources and educational tools to expand opportunities, increase knowledge, and empower staff. Today's topic, Developing Competencies Through Change, is in partnership with our UH Human Resources Catalyst Learning Programs. In the next hour, Senior Talent Development Specialist Vivian LaDuca will present on competencies to deal with strategic collaboration, social and emotional awareness, career progression, and future planning through the lens of change. We're in for a real treat, y'all. And without further ado, welcome Vivian.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for a lovely introduction, Whitney. So, as stated, my name is Vivian LaDuca. I'm the Senior Talent Development Specialist, and I'm going to take you through what was a really fun class and topic to put together, and this is developing competencies through change. So first, here's what you can expect in the next hour or so. I'm going to talk to you first of all about the change curve, how we all experience change in general. Then from there, we'll bring in the competencies. I'll talk about strategic collaboration together with social and emotional awareness. And then we'll talk about career progression and future planning. All of these are being viewed through the lens of change. So we'll talk about what you can expect and also how to navigate, how to lead through these changes. Then we'll open it up for questions. So the chat is closed right now, but when we get to the Q&A session, it will open back up. So if you are the kind of person like me who needs to write it down or you will forget it, go ahead and get a pen and paper now so you can write your questions down. And with that said, let's go ahead and get in there. So the first thing to talk about here is the change curve. All change goes through 4 stages. This is whether we are experiencing this change as an individual or as an organization. Knowing these 4 stages will help you not only with the competencies that we've discussed on the previous slide and that we're going to discuss in today's workshop, but also just in general as you navigate through life, because change is inevitable. It's constant. We don't stay at the status quo for very long. So once we get through the change curve, we'll talk about how to deal with all of the effects we've talked about, and then I'll answer some questions. So let's start with stage 1. This is the status quo. The status quo is where things are very comfortable. Things are, they're not changing yet, but we don't stay in the status quo for very long. Change is always on the horizon, right? So when change is initially introduced, people's response might be shock. Could be denial. In general, people have a lot of questions. There's a lot of unknowns. All we know is change is coming, which is why we don't stay in stage 1 for very long. We very quickly go into stage 2. This is disruption. This is when the reality of change starts to hit, and typically people react pretty negatively. Again, as individuals, as an organization, as a team, as a family unit, all of those things, as soon as the change starts to hit, things get messy. You'll notice that in our change curve here, the impact goes negative. People can react with anger. They can react with fear, both of them. People might actively try and resist the change as opposed to going with it. They might fight against it. They might try to sabotage it, especially if the change has not been introduced very well. It's easy to think that people can resist change out of awkwardness, laziness, a lack of vision, but change does have real negative effects for people, whether we consider them negative or big or not. It doesn't matter because each person is experiencing the change as an individual. So there might be some very real negative changes that we did not foresee, whether it's to ourselves. We're like, oh, this is a lot more work than I thought it would be when I started this project, right? Which if you've ever started a new hobby, Sometimes that happens to us. We get in over our heads pretty quick if we weren't prepared, if we didn't do our homework. The same thing can be true if a change is introduced poorly. We did not anticipate negative responses, and so we are stuck down here. This is what's referred to as the organizational danger zone. Because if we do not manage the change here, we get
Hello, Vivian. I don't think we can hear you. I believe your screen has paused.
Hello, everyone. Please give us a moment while we work with Miss Vivian Leduca to see if we can get her reconnected to the call.
While Vivian joins back in, we also just want to take a moment to thank everyone who submitted nominations for our Staff Council Awards. We received quite a few nominations, and we're very excited to recognize staff for such excellence here at the University of Houston. So, on behalf of our Staff Affairs Committee and our Ad Hoc Staff Awards Committee, we just want to thank you all for participating and again for nominating your fellow colleagues. And we hope to have those announced, I think at the end or at the beginning of July. So stay tuned. It looks like Vivian is back connected with us. Vivian, can you hear us? There she is.
I'm so sorry. I could hear everything and see everything. So sorry, everyone. I truly apologize for that.
No problem.
What is the last thing everyone heard?
I would start with the disruption
Okay, well, speaking
right
of
in the middle of
disruption,
that.
how,
There you go.
how fortuitous. I apologize, everyone. So, as we talk about here disruption, let's go back to stage 2. So this is when the reality of change starts to hit. People react with fear, with anger, they resist the change maybe, and this is because even if we've thought about all of the changes, we might not have actually considered how it really does impact individuals. We all experience change on a personal level. So even if we've considered, oh, you know what, there's going to be a rough patch here, we may not have considered all of the other factors impacting each individual on our team. Or maybe if we're starting a personal project, We did not anticipate how the change was really going to affect us. Oh, it's a lot more work than I thought it was, or I thought I wouldn't need this many supplies, but it turns out I have a huge upfront investment. All of those things are very real possibilities. So we don't want to stay in stage 2. This is the organizational danger zone. If we stay in this stage, the change never really comes to fruition. The longer we resist and stay in here, the worse it's going to be. So we want to move into stage 3. This is when, at least for people who react this way, we start to finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is when people start exploring, what does this change mean for me? What's good? What's not so good? What do I need to work at? How do I need to adjust? But ultimately, we can see that finally the good things that we're working towards, they're coming for us. We're going to get there eventually. This is where resistance and pessimism gives way into optimism and acceptance. We're excited. We're learning something new. We're really involved in the change. People stop focusing on what they've lost. They let go of that and they're moving towards a brighter future. So sometimes, however, even though the curve, right, it made it look like, oh, it's such a smooth line. Really? Sometimes stage 3 looks more like this. We go back and forth. We try and work out new things. Sometimes we think it's going well, and other times, oh, we're back where we started. So if you feel like you are spending a really long time in stage 3, that's okay. Things happen. We make mistakes. That's part of learning and growing. So that's okay, because eventually we will get into stage 4, and that is rebuilding. This is committing to the new way of doing things. We are finally getting to reap those positive rewards of change. Everything that we were working towards, here it is. Things are better than they were before. And that is what we're trying to get to. And finally, once we're in stage 4, really, we kind of just go right back to the status quo. And our new level of working is better than before. But remember, change is constant. So it's only a matter of time before we get to the next change. Now, there's some good news, because this change curve, this is what a best case scenario for unmanaged change looks like. But we don't have to accept it the way it is. We, either as leading teams or just leading ourselves, we can manage this change. We can make it shallower so that we reduce those negative impacts, and we can make it steeper so we get out of the messy, uncomfortable stages of change a lot faster with way fewer headaches. So this is where we're going to start talking about the competencies. We're going to go through each of those 4 stages again, but reframing them around the competencies. So again, this is where you might start to have some questions, so make sure you write those down. If, like me, you will forget them otherwise. So we're going to start with strategic collaboration and social and emotional awareness, because to me, when I think of these competencies, and each of these competencies could be several workshops on their own, right? These are big, broad topics. But when I think of these two, they, to me, work together. You cannot have strategic collaboration, successful strategic collaboration, without social and emotional awareness. So have that frame of reference in mind as we go through. We're going to start with stage 1. Again, the status quo. People are feeling shock. They're feeling denial. What people need in this stage to get through it, to build that trust that makes a successful collaboration, is communication. Open, honest, often communication. As soon as people think you're not being transparent, you're withholding information, you start to wear down that trust. And nothing else you do after that point can really get people over to your side until you restore that trust. So give people information. Be open. If you are a leader, this might mean, where can I go to put these resources? Because I can't just give people all of this information as a fire hose, right? That's overwhelming. Everyone processes information differently. At the same time, if you're an individual, well, you might not have all of that access to the information. So you need to know where to go to get it, whether that is a change committee, someone with different cross-department people in it to help bridge this change to make it easier. It's a website, it's a memo, some place where people can go to get that information as soon as it's available to them, as soon as they're ready to get their questions answered. For people who, chunk out that information, right? I can only process this before I can move on to the next segment. Or for people who want to know without having to ask someone, where can I go to get answers to my questions? That's what people need in this stage. So communicate often and check in. How are people feeling? That is, again, before we even move into the change, before we've even started the change. Once we move into stage 2, this is where the change starts to hit, right? This is where people have that feeling of anger and fear. This is where people are like, I knew this was going to be bad. Look at it. It's already rough. But again, we're prepared. We know change gets worse. Things get worse before they get better. I want you to think about the first time you tried a new skill, you tried a new hobby, right? Things aren't easy. You probably were not perfect the first time that you did it. You probably struggled or fumbled or felt awkward. Even if you did do it right the first time, it doesn't mean it was the best you ever did at it, right? We get better the more we do it. So you can expect things to be messy. You can expect things to be uncomfortable during this stage. Don't panic. That's just how things go. During this stage, you need to give and seek feedback. So, hey, I'm the one directly affected by this change. I would like to tell you my experiences, and then maybe we can find something to bridge the gap. This process isn't currently working, but I think if we add this tool, it'll make it a whole lot better while we're transitioning to this new process, this new server, this new software, whatever it is. Seek feedback too for the same reason, especially if you are in charge, you are leading this collaboration. How is everyone feeling? Because again, even though we're going through this change as an organization, each individual is experiencing the change. And so if people are not on board, if people are resisting, it's going to make your work a whole lot harder. So ask, how are people thinking about this change? How are people feeling about the change, about the process, about the products, whatever the change is about? That way, people, again, you're continuing that line of communication, you're establishing trust. That's really, really important for these relationships, for this collaboration. And it'll make getting out of stage 2 a lot easier. Because remember, we don't want to stay in stage 2. Stage 2 is bad. We want to get into stage 3. This is the exploration stage. So individually, as people's acceptance of the change grows, remember, they test, they explore. What's it mean for me? They do this more easily if they're supported. And this support can be as simple as giving people time to learn and make mistakes. If you've ever had to do a big change overnight, you know how stressful that is. You can't focus on actually getting better because you're so worried about the unrealistic deadline. So if you as a leader are able to set meaningful deadlines, right? Do that. Give people that space to make mistakes and don't see mistakes as failure. Mistakes are part of learning. We have to expect them, and they're a good sign. You learn and retain that knowledge a lot more if you make a mistake than if you were just accidentally correct every time you went through it. Focus on the positives too. I know, guys, we're still in this process. It's taken a long time to get this new project up and running, to get fully operational, but look at how far we've come. Are we 100%? No, but we started at 0% and we're at least at 60% now. That's a huge improvement. Thank you so much for the time and effort that you're putting into this. That shows again that you are paying attention to people, that you're looking at what's going on. Are they tired? Are they fatigued? Change can take a really long time depending on the scope of the process or the project or the number of people involved, right? And when you're in that change, the one thing you want to do is be done with it. Oh gosh, it's exhausting. So making sure that you are finding ways to keep people on board, right? We're recommitting to our goals. We can see that light at the end of the tunnel, everyone. We're all going through this together. I know you're tired. I'm tired too, but we're going to get there. We've already made progress, which means we can absolutely finish this. And then finally, stage 4. First thing we need to do when we are complete, when we are there, when we are seeing those positive results, is we need to celebrate that success. If you've ever thought to yourself, well, do they really need to thank me for doing my job? Yes, everyone likes that recognition, whether it is just a thank you note, whether it is an acknowledgement. You put time, effort, and energy, and it could have been a lot of time, effort, and energy, depending on the scale of this change, right? Celebrate that. That makes the whole team feel closer. That makes all the work feel more rewarding. Seek feedback too. Just because we're done doesn't mean we're never going to go through change again, right? So it's time to reach out across the board. Hey, what went well with that? How was our communication? What can we do differently and better the next time we all work together, the next time we have a major project, the next time we go through a major initiative? And prepare for that next change, right? Whether that is with our hearts and minds or just with our processes. So that was strategic collaboration and social emotional awareness. just the tip of the iceberg, right? Because like I said, these are big, big competencies. We could go on for a long time with them. So next, I want to move into career progression and future planning. So strategic collaboration and social and emotional awareness to me feel more like things that we talk about at the group level by its very nature, right? Whereas career progression and future planning, absolutely, if you are a leader, part of a team, you can think of it from a group perspective. But these are also very individual focused. Your career progression is happening to you as an individual. It's also your future, which can extend beyond the professional sphere and into your personal life. So you can think about it from one or from both perspectives. Starting with stage one, the status quo. People here feel really comfortable or really bored. They either know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, they're very comfortable with the routine, they like the routine, right? They feel secure in that. Or, gosh, I'm so tired of doing the same thing every day. I really wish I was doing something more. I wish I could learn a new skill. I really want to move up the career ladder. That's how you know when people are in the status quo. So they're always looking for opportunities to either do more, be more, grow their skills, or you as an individual can be looking for those opportunities. Even if you're comfortable, take a second and assess that. Am I feeling really comfortable where I am? That's good. But it could also mean the next time a change comes, you get blindsided by it. So think about that. Think about where you are. What could you be doing to prepare yourself for what the future holds? Whatever that is, whether that's personally or professionally. Even if you're like, I really want to move up the ladder in my current department, but you know what? We don't have any spots available just yet. What can you be doing to show I'm interested, I'm willing, I'm dedicated, I want the development, I want that responsibility? Then that leads us into stage two. You've just been promoted. You've just started a new team. You've started a new project. You're learning a new skill and you're having that first lesson. You're doing a new hobby and you're doing the first run or the first time you're going to the gym because your goal is to, bench press 500 or something. I don't know how much. That seems like a lot to me, but I don't know. But the point is you're actually in it now. You're doing it. This is when you're going to feel challenged. This is when you're going to feel uncomfortable. Some people thrive off of that because it's something new, it's exciting, it's different. Others do not like that. Remember, process that discomfort. Why am I feeling this way? Is it because I'm used to being good at something and now since I'm doing it for the first time, I'm not good? That's okay, right? That's a starting point. We know that we can work from there. There's always a learning curve, right? There's always an opportunity for us to get better. So don't let that discomfort, that not being good at it, stop you in your tracks. Don't let it prevent you from growing. You need to push through stage two so that you can get to stage three, right? Our exploration stage. Individually, we're probably feeling more confident by the time we get to this stage, but we're still not at 100%. Right? We're still making mistakes. We're still learning. We're still trying to figure out the technique. We're still, let's say it was a new hobby, right? You probably might still have some beginner gear here, right? You haven't made the full investment into the really expensive fishing rods, all the really pretty tackle, all of that sort of thing. That's okay, because again, we need to stay the course here. And one of the best ways that we can do this is by setting benchmarks. How will we know our project is on track? Is it because we've got certain deliverables by certain dates, right? Will we know that we're ready to run that marathon because by maybe 6 weeks out from your marathon, from your race, you should be able to run 10 miles and not feel like you're dying at the end of that 10 miles? Things like that. That is what you're looking for. Whatever it is that you're doing, whether it is somewhere in your career, whether it is a new skill that you are learning, whether it is a project that you are working on, give yourselves some hard deadlines, okay, so that you know what you're working to. This will help you keep score. Am I on track? Yes, awesome. I can celebrate that win. I can motivate myself to the next deadline. Or, wow, I'm not on track at all. I'm really far behind where I thought I should be. Should I panic? No. Time for me to assess. Did I give myself some unrealistic deadlines? Did I give myself some unrealistic expectations? Did I think I would be fluent in that new language in 6 months? Do I have that superpower? I don't think I do. I probably should have given myself, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years to be really fluent in that language, right? Think about that. Or is it that I'm not practicing enough? I'm not putting enough effort into learning this skill. I'm not spending enough hours on this project to really get this new product out, to get this new process in place. So that's why I'm not hitting my deadlines. All of those things can help you pivot, can help you stay flexible, can help you stay through that messy part of change. Remember, this is where it starts to do the little woo and get kind of crazy on the change curve. That's okay. Keep score to keep you motivated to stay the course. And when you're finally done, right? Stage 4, celebrate, you did it. Yes, you ran the marathon, you finished the project, you put it out there. Maybe you still didn't hit your goal time on that project, on your race, or maybe you're still working out the kinks on that new process. There's 1 or 2 things here, but for the most part, by and large, you're done. Anything else that you're doing after this is getting you to that mastery level. Because again, stage 4 is not mastery, okay? Change is a process. It is not a future event. It is not an end point. It is a series of events. It is a series of activities that you're doing. So once you get to stage 4, this is kind of letting you know, I'm comfortable now, right? I'm done this. I'm celebrating. I've mastered the certain number of words that I want. I'm lifting the weight that I want. The project itself is pretty much done. Everything else after this is maintenance. It's upkeep. So celebrate that. Keep track of those wins. Check in with yourself, right? Okay, what should I do differently next time I want to start a hobby? Or what didn't work for me? What do I need to make sure I don't do again in the future? Do I have enough resources, including people to support me, people I can ask questions to, people who can keep me grounded and realistic on my goals, especially if I'm setting way too many goals and giving myself unrealistic expectations, right? You will know when you are done with your change, when you're back at the status quo, right? When you're feeling really comfortable or really bored. And until you get to that point, you're still in the change. But all of this should help you reflect on where you're at in the process, what you can do as you're going through each stage to help you get to the next stage of the change curve. So with that, again, just a small tip of the iceberg here for all of those. I'm going to open it up for questions. Now, I've already got one question that has been asked of me, and that is, how do I know if there are too many changes happening at once? First of all, is there such a thing as too much change happening at once? And second of all, what are some of the signs? That's going to vary individually, right? Certain people react to change with like, yay, enthusiasm, excitement. It's something new and different. And there's really not too much. Other people, it's overwhelming. So that's the sign I'm going to tell you to look for. When you feel overwhelmed, when you can barely focus on one change, let alone all of the changes happening. Because I will tell you, we pretty much never have one change happening to us at a time. We have a lot of changes going on concurrently. That's life, right? But if you are starting to feel overwhelmed by the amount that's going on, pause, take a second. What do you have control over? Are you trying to start too many things in your personal life and that is interfering with some of the work projects? Are the goals and deadlines that you set for yourself unrealistic, right? And so you need to give yourself some more grace period in trying to become proficient in these skills or trying to hit this deadline. Those are things that can help you feel less overwhelmed. If you're feeling overwhelmed by things that you have no control over, who can you talk to? Who's in charge of that project so that you can reach out and say, hey, I think this deadline's unmanageable. Or, you know what, I really need to work on my time management skills to get this done. Or I need to say yes to fewer things at work, unfortunately. Sometimes it feels really good to say yes, but then in the moment, it actually just makes things worse for us. So there's that. Let's see what other questions we have in the chat. I see no questions in the chat, but I'm waiting. If you really liked this and you want to know more about change, especially if you are a leader and you're trying to lead your team through a big change, we do have Leading Change available to sign up in the Catalyst app. That class will be on July 20th, so about a month from now. And communication was one of the overarching themes throughout this workshop. So if you want to know more about communication, we still have a couple of spots available in our effective communication class, which you can sign up for in the Catalyst app. That will be available on July 14th. Still waiting for questions. I think people's hands are full of their fork for their salad or their sandwich, and that is why people can't type.
I don't see any questions either, Vivian. Sorry, I'm getting an echo. And so we definitely appreciate you all for joining us. But before we close out today, Vivian, I know we have the opportunity to raffle off some seats and some into the Catalyst programs.
We sure do. And so we've got 2 seats available. So I've got all the names of everyone who registered. Thank you very much, Brisa, for putting this together. So this is, again, any Catalyst class that is not a Franklin Covey class. You will get a free certificate, free entry into that course. Thought it was going to be Connie Camp and I was going to laugh really hard. Okay, so congratulations, Linda. Let me screenshot this so that I've got a record of the first winner. I'm sure there's a better way to do it than what I'm doing now, but this is my method. All right, and go ahead and save that. Okay, next winter. Oh, not next winter. Next winner is, sure did, Connie. Spin the wheel. Oh, man, the suspense on this wheel. Congratulations, Dinanetra. May save this as well. Excellent. Okay. Well, those were the 2 winners. Save this again. And that is all for me. Are there any other prizes?
I think that's all we have as far as prizes for today. But before we go, we just want to thank you so much, Vivian, for presenting to us today. I know it's such a joy for me personally to hear you present, and it's always so engaging. And so we definitely appreciate you being with us. Also, congratulations to our Catalyst winners. I think that we can all say that we've connected with some very valuable takeaways from today's presentation, especially centered around change and the constant change that we're experiencing. I really enjoyed how that understanding that it's really kind of a loop of change that we go through. So thank you, Vivian. We also want to thank you all for joining us today. Following the event, you'll receive a very brief survey, a 3-question survey that we do ask for you to fill out just to provide you all with, provide us with feedback as we prepare for our next topic. And with that, UH staff community, thank you for joining us on behalf of the Staff Affairs Committee. We appreciate you all being with us and have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.